Welcome to video 2 of the Using SEO to Market Your Website video tutorial series. So we're all familiar with search engines. It's actually hard for me to believe these days that I was alive at some point when the search engines weren't around and you couldn't just instantly find the answer to any question you had, whether it was trying to find a phone number to a local business or something more informative such as a health article or a how-to guide. In today's information age, search engines are the portals that provide all this information to us. So in general, there's three major types of search engines. There's the web crawler-based engines. Now these are search engines that actually have software that's constantly running and scouring the internet for information about websites and storing it in a database. Google is an example of a crawler-based search engine. With that being said, it's important to understand exactly how crawler-based engines work. Now in short, there's three main steps to this process. Now the crawler phase, which is also referred to as spidering sometimes, is when the search engine's crawlers, also known as bots or spiders, scour the web from one page to another following link to link to link to link. This is where all those terms crawl and spider and web originate from. Now step 2 is the indexing step. Once a crawler has gathered all that information is processed and analyzed in a way that the search engine can easily identify and describe your website. This information is then stored in massive databases. Now, how this information describes your website is very important when it comes to the ranking process, when a list of results is returned by the search engine. And this falls under step 3, the retrieval phase. And this is the point right after you enter your search string and hit the submit button. This is what goes on between the loading time and when the results are returned to you. Now, the next type of search engine is the web directory. Now these are a little different because a user actually fills out a form and submits their website URL, a basic description of the website, maybe even some keywords. Now once you submit that form, it sits in an inbox and waits for an editor to come along and review your submission and decide whether or not your site should be listed in the web directory, as well as where it should reside in the directory. An example of a directory search would be Yahoo. And it's important to note that as opposed to web crawler engines, which are constantly revisiting your page and updating their indexes with the new information as your site may change, with web directories, if and when you've been listed, it's very difficult to go back and have your website description changed if your website were to change. Finally, there's the hybrid engines. And these are usually crawler-based engines that still allow a certain degree of manually inserted listings. Now in this tutorial series, we won't really discuss hybrid engines too much. As you'll see later, the emphasis is really on the crawler-based engines, specifically Google. And I'll explain that in a bit more detail in the next video. The important concept here is that the crawler-based engines like Google are automated computer engines. There is no human looking at your website and describing it. Web directories, on the other hand, are human-based. And because they're not constantly being rescanned, don't often update or acknowledge changes to a web page. So that pretty much covers the basics of search engines and directories. This completes video 2 of the Using SEO to Market Your Website video tutorial series.